husband left me.
Hurt, but it's not just her belly, heavy with child. Her chest feels tighter than it should. The road stretches endlessly ahead of her, stretching further than it has any right to. The emptiness of it, the silence, it's the only thing she can hear, can feel. The road's not long enough for her to escape everything, but it's long enough for her to remember how she got here. Her shirt's torn at the hem, the sleeves rolled up just enough to show bruises. She doesn't look down at them, the memories are too much. Her fingers tighten around the faded denim of her jeans. The sun is setting fast, casting shadows that stretch across the earth, like the memory of her husband's face still does. A truck, her husband's truck, sits just ahead, engine running. The door's open, but he's not there. No sign of him. Just the truck, idling like a ghost. Maggie stumbles forward, her steps shaky, and stops at the truck, her hand resting on the worn-out hood. She looks at the empty space beside her, the spot where he should have been. Should have been. A photograph lies near the tire, dirty from the dust but still visible. She kneels slowly, wincing, and picks it up, cradling it in her palm. It's them. Smiling. Younger. She holds it a moment longer than necessary, before her fingers turn it over, and the photo slips from her hand. Her heart beats too fast, her stomach churns. She can't keep it. Can't keep this reminder of who they were, or at least who she thought they were. The sound of her breath fills her ears again, loud, too loud, and it's all she hears as the photo falls, as the world falls, and she's left standing, sinking. She takes a step back, but it doesn't matter. She can't walk away from this. The memory floods in, sharp and cold, freezing her in place. The argument. The last time she saw him. The last time she heard his voice. I can't do this anymore. His voice, flat. Empty. This whole thing? It's not you. It's me. I'm done. You're on your own. The words had hit her like a slap, sudden and jagged. You're on your own. She remembers how she'd begged him. Remembered how he'd turned his back, not even bothering to look at her as he climbed into the truck. The dust had risen behind him as he sped off, without a second thought. She thought it was a mistake, that he'd come back. He never did. Her legs give out. She crumbles, sinking to the gravel, the weight of the child and the absence of him pulling her down. Her chest heaves as she gasps for air, but nothing feels like it's enough. The world blurs around her, and her vision swims as she closes her eyes. Her body, heavy with the life inside her, aches, but it's the loss that hurts more. The loss of what she thought she had. The loss of him. It gnaws at her, claws at her insides. The road stretches out beyond her, the same way her life stretches out before her, uncertain, endless, full of pain. She doesn't know what's next. She doesn't even know if she can keep going. Her hand rests over her belly as she breathes, slow, measured, trying to calm the panic that rises in her chest. The child inside her kicks, just once, and Maggie closes her eyes tighter, trying to focus on something, anything, other than the ache in her heart. She doesn't know what's worse, the fact that he's gone or that she's here, alone, with no one but the baby. Her fingers tremble as they grip the gravel beneath her. The road ahead isn't empty. She's never been more aware of how far she's fallen, of how much she has to carry now. She doesn't have much, nothing more than her broken heart, the child inside her, and the silence of the road. Maggie. The voice is distant, faint, but she hears it. It's his voice, just enough of a whisper to make her lift her head, her eyes scanning the horizon. There's no one there, of course. Just the empty road stretching further. Her husband's voice, but just an echo now. Her eyes sting, but she wipes the tears away. She's alone. She's been alone for a long time. Another step. Her feet drag, and it feels like a lifetime before she can pull herself up again. She forces herself to stand, her body protesting, her limbs weak. But the child stirs again, a small, sharp kick that sends a jolt of pain through her. She hisses through her teeth and then tries to move again, dragging her feet down the road. The truck's still there, silent now, the engine long gone cold. She's not sure where she's going. It doesn't matter. Every step forward feels like a lie. A promise she can't keep. She keeps walking, the road endless and empty before her. It's all she has left. The dust swirls around her legs, the shadows of the dying sun stretching out, reaching for her like something familiar, something she's been running from for too long. The night falls quickly, and with it, a chill creeps into her bones. The ache in her stomach spreads, but it doesn't matter. Her feet keep moving, 1 step, 2 steps, 3. The weight of the baby inside her, the memory of him, the ache in her chest, it all wraps around her like a shroud. She takes another step, then another, but the emptiness is always there. It never leaves. And she knows, deep down, that she's still waiting. Waiting for something to change. Waiting for something to come and fix it. But the road is long. And it's empty. Maggie wakes with a start. The familiar weight of the road, the sun, the emptiness gone. She blinks, disoriented, trying to make sense of the darkness that surrounds her. The smell of pine and smoke fills her nose, thick and earthy. Her skin tingles with warmth, but it doesn't feel like the harsh, dry heat she's been trudging through. She looks around, the flicker of firelight dancing against the walls. The crackle of flames fills the silence. A cabin. Her breath catches as she pushes herself up, her hand pressing against the rough wood of the floor. Her body feels lighter than before, but the ache in her belly is still there, dull but constant. She's not on the road anymore. The air here smells different, cleaner, like the woods. She can hear something in the distance, the wind, or maybe the trees moving outside. But there's something else. Someone else. A figure stands in the corner, his back to her. She can't see his face, but she can feel his presence. Heavy, like the weight of the mountains themselves. The fire crackles between them. He stirs the coals with a long iron rod, the red light casting shadows across his broad shoulders. His movements are slow, deliberate. He doesn't speak, doesn't even acknowledge her as she sits up. Maggie's head spins, her vision blurs for a moment. She tries to stand but stumbles, catching herself against the edge of the bed. Her legs feel weak, like they're not entirely her own. The man doesn't move. Where am I? Her voice feels foreign, cracked, like she hasn't spoken in days. The man doesn't answer immediately, but she feels his eyes on her, intense, watching. He steps closer to her, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. His face is weathered, rugged, carved by years of living out here, in this wilderness. His eyes are dark, but they don't reveal much. His expression remains unreadable, detached. He's not young. His face is hard, with lines that suggest more pain than she could ever imagine. He doesn't offer his name. Instead, he reaches for something by the fire, pulls a canteen from the floor, and hands it to her. She takes it hesitantly, watching him still, unsure of what to make of him. He doesn't move. Doesn't speak. Water, he says simply, as if the silence between them has no weight. She takes a slow drink, letting the coolness slide down her throat. It feels like life, like something she hasn't had in too long. The burn of dehydration starts to ease, but she doesn't look away from him. "Who are you?" she asks, her voice trembling just slightly. The man doesn't answer at first. He glances at the fire, poking at the embers with the same calm precision he uses for everything. "Bo," he says, his voice rough like gravel. "Found you on the road. Brought you here." Maggie doesn't know what to say. The words hit her, but she doesn't know how to react. She's seen him before, but only in the periphery of her exhaustion, her delirium. The road is a blur now. She remembers the truck, the silence, the emptiness. And then, nothing. He must have carried her, dragged her, because she couldn't walk. She looks down at herself, clean, at least. Her clothes are a little torn, but she's not bleeding anymore. The pain of the road is gone, but there's a different kind of pain now. The kind that sits deep inside her, like something that's been torn out and left behind. "Why did you bring me here?" She says it carefully, testing the air. She's not used to asking for help, not used to depending on anyone. But she's not sure she has a choice. Bo shrugs, still watching the fire. Wasn't safe out there, he says, his voice low. You'd have died out there. You weren't in a state to keep walking. Didn't want that on my conscience. Maggie doesn't know whether she should be grateful or scared. He's a stranger. A mountain man, she assumes, judging by the roughness of his clothes, the quiet in his voice. He doesn't look like the type who helps people without reason. What happened to you? Bo asks suddenly, his eyes flicking over to her. Maggie stiffens, the question catching her off guard. She doesn't answer right away. Her throat tightens, but she pushes the memory down. It's too fresh, too painful. She's not ready to talk about him, about the way he left her. How he walked away without a second glance. Her fingers tighten around the canteen. Nothing, she mutters, her voice low. Just, left me. Bo doesn't press further. His gaze doesn't soften, but something in the quiet of the cabin shifts. He looks at her with something like understanding, or maybe just acceptance. There's no judgment in his eyes, and for the first time in a long while, Maggie feels like she can breathe. The silence stretches again, long and thick. Maggie watches him as he moves back toward the fire, his broad back facing her. The shadows flicker across his face, accentuating the years of solitude, the hardness in his features. She wonders if he's been here long, if he's alone all the time. He doesn't seem the type for company. Doesn't seem to care about the outside world. She swallows hard and leans back, feeling the coolness of the cabin against her skin. The fire crackles, the only sound between them. She's never been good at silence. You should rest, Bo says quietly, his voice the same as before, rough but not unkind. He doesn't ask if she's okay, doesn't seem concerned about her. You need it. Maggie doesn't argue. She doesn't know what else to do. Her body is heavy, and the weariness is pressing in on her, as much a part of her as the baby inside. She leans back against the rough blankets, feeling the warmth of the fire seep into her skin. Bo doesn't move. He's still by the fire, but his eyes are no longer on her. It's like he's waiting for something. She closes her eyes, her body sinking into the bed. For the first time in what feels like forever, she feels the weight of the day, the long road, the abandonment, the fear, begin to fade. Here, in this cabin, with the man in the shadows, it feels like she might find a small piece of peace. The darkness settles over her like a heavy curtain, and for the first time in days, Maggie finally falls asleep. But the silence, the tension, it lingers. And the road that brought her here is still a long way from being over. The days blend together in a haze of quiet and stillness. Maggie has little to do but watch Bo, watch the fire, and watch the world outside the small window of the cabin. The landscape is vast and indifferent, stretching for miles in every direction. It feels like a different world, a world that's forgotten her, forgotten everything. She doesn't know why she's here, doesn't know why Bo took her in, or why she hasn't left yet. Every time she stands by the window, staring out at the endless mountains, she feels smaller, more lost. Bo works, mostly. He's efficient, moving through the cabin with a sort of quiet purpose that she can't quite place. He chops wood, repairs the roof, checks the traps. Maggie never asks him to teach her. She knows it wouldn't matter. She's never been good at this life, the silence, the labor. She's used to people talking, to noise, to the hum of the world outside. But here, in this cabin, it's all stillness. Bo doesn't speak much. When he does, it's short, blunt, never more than necessary. She's aware of his movements, the weight of his presence in the cabin. His eyes never leave her for long, but he doesn't push. He lets her be. She doesn't know what to make of it. She doesn't know how to act. She's used to controlling her own space, her own life. But here, she feels like an intruder, like a stranger in someone else's home. She moves around cautiously, avoiding Bo's gaze when it lingers too long, pretending to keep busy with small tasks, but never really accomplishing anything. Most of her time is spent at the window, her hands pressed against the cold glass, staring at the mountains. The peaks are so high they feel unreachable, and the forest so dense, they swallow everything whole. Sometimes, when the wind howls through the trees, it sounds like the earth itself is whispering something just beyond her reach. But she doesn't listen. She can't. She's already heard enough. Bo doesn't ask about her past. He doesn't ask about the child, or the husband who left her, or the life she left behind. It's as if the past is irrelevant here, as if it's a distant thing that's no longer worth talking about. When he does speak, it's only in short, direct sentences. "I like the mountains," he says one morning, while repairing a shelf. "They don't lie to you." She doesn't answer. She watches him, the way his hands move, strong and sure, but his face is unreadable. He doesn't show much. He's not like her husband. Her husband used to talk. Used to tell her things, lies, half-truths, anything to keep her from asking the right questions. But Bo? He keeps everything locked up tight. She doesn't know if it's because he doesn't trust her, or if he simply doesn't care. One evening, as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the room, Maggie stands at the window again. Her hand rests against the glass, and she watches the fading light over the mountains. The air has grown cold, and the fire crackles behind her, its warmth a stark contrast to the chill outside. The child inside her stirs, kicking sharply against her ribs, reminding her of the life she's carrying. Her hand instinctively moves to her belly, but the worry tightens in her chest. The child's future feels uncertain, like everything else in her life. She doesn't know what kind of world this child will grow up in. She doesn't know if she'll be able to protect it. She doesn't even know if she can protect herself. Bo's voice breaks the silence. "You're thinking too much." She doesn't turn around. "I have nothing else to do." He's quiet for a moment, and then he's there, standing behind her, his eyes on the same view. "You should get some rest. You're not ready for whatever's coming." Maggie shakes her head, her fingers tightening around the edge of the window frame. "I'm not afraid of what's coming," she says, her voice flat. "I'm afraid of what's already here." Bo doesn't respond. He just watches her, his face impassive. But there's something in the way he stands, the way he shifts his weight. It's the same stillness he carries with him every day, but tonight it feels different. Like he's holding something back. "Do you believe in curses?" Maggie asks, her voice quiet but desperate for some kind of answer. She doesn't know why she asks him. It just slips out, like something she's been carrying for too long. Bo doesn't respond immediately. He seems to consider her question for a long moment before answering. "No," he says finally. "I believe in what you can see, what you can touch." Maggie nods, but it doesn't make her feel any better. She wants to believe in something. In fate, or destiny, or the idea that maybe this child will bring some kind of salvation. But the world doesn't work like that. It doesn't give you anything you can hold on to. It takes, again and again, until you're empty. She opens her mouth to say something more, but she's interrupted by a sudden, sharp pain in her side. She gasps, clutching her stomach, her breath coming in ragged bursts. Bo's gaze sharpens, and for the first time, she sees something flicker in his eyes, concern, maybe, or something deeper. "Are you all right?" His voice is low, almost hesitant. She tries to steady herself, the pain subsiding slowly, but her heart is still racing. "I'm fine," she lies, though the words feel hollow. "Just tired." For a moment, there's silence between them. Bo watches her, his brow furrowed, but he doesn't push. He doesn't ask more questions. Maggie can't tell if it's because he doesn't care or because he knows she doesn't want to talk. And then, without warning, something in her snaps. The tension, the isolation, the anger at herself, at her husband, at the life that's been thrust upon her. The words spill out, jagged and sharp. "Have you ever lost anything?" she demands, her voice rising. "Have you ever had someone just leave? Just walk away without a second thought?" Bo stands still, his face unreadable, but his eyes harden slightly. He doesn't answer. Doesn't even flinch. But Maggie can see something in his eyes. A flicker of pain, something he doesn't want her to see. "I lost everything," he says quietly, his voice rougher than before. "Once. A long time ago." The words hang in the air between them, heavy and final. Maggie doesn't speak. She can't. The weight of them presses down on her chest, but she doesn't know what to say. The fire crackles, the only sound in the room. Bo steps away from the window, his movements slow, deliberate. He doesn't look back as he walks toward the door. "I'll let you rest," he says simply, his voice calm again. "Tomorrow, we'll see what's next." Maggie doesn't answer. She's not sure she can. The silence stretches between them, thick and suffocating, and for the first time since she's arrived, she feels the full weight of the mountains and the man she's surrounded by. The crackle of the fire is the only thing that keeps her grounded as the room grows darker, quieter. And for the first time, Maggie wonders if she'll ever escape the silence. The air in the cabin is thick, heavy with the weight of silence. Maggie has spent days now walking around its creaking walls, tracing her fingers over the old, rough wood, listening to the quiet. She's become accustomed to the slow rhythm of this place, the rise of the sun, the fall of night, the crackling of the fire, and the occasional grunt of Bo as he works, but something in her stirs. There's a pull, a gnawing curiosity that she can't ignore. She's already memorized every crack in the floorboards, every knot in the walls. There's nothing here for her. Nothing but the loneliness, the quiet that never seems to end. But today is different. Today, she notices something she hadn't before, a section of the floor that seems out of place, a sliver between the boards that seems just a little too wide. Her pulse quickens as she kneels, fingers trembling as she pries at the edges, pulling up the old, dusty floorboard. Beneath it, a small box lies hidden, wrapped in rough twine. Maggie's breath catches as she pulls it from its hiding place, the weight of it heavier than she expected. The box is old, worn, the wood faded and cracked from years of neglect. It smells of dust and something else, something darker. She hesitates. Her mind races with questions she's not sure she wants the answers to. What could Bo be hiding? Why would he hide anything in this cabin, in this place? Her hands shake as she unties the twine, the sound of it like a slow, grinding noise in the still air. She opens the box, and inside are letters, yellowed with age, photos curling at the edges, and a small journal, its leather cover cracked and worn. Maggie's fingers graze over the items, feeling the weight of the past, the secrets wrapped up in this small, dusty box. She flips through the letters first, reading the faint, handwritten words that spill out onto the yellowed paper. Most are from women, some strangers, some familiar. They speak of loss, of longing, of unanswered questions. None of them are addressed to Bo. Her heart races as she picks up the journal. It's small, fragile, but it's the one thing that feels like it holds answers. She opens it, and the first page reveals a name, Emily, written in looping script. Bo's wife. The words on the pages blur as she reads, but slowly, a story unfolds. Emily, his wife, had written about their life, about their child, and about the dreams of a family built in these mountains. But then, the words shift. The tragedy. The fire. Maggie reads on, the pages darkening with grief. Emily had written about the fire that took everything, their daughter, their home, their lives. The pain is raw in every word, the anger and sorrow seeping through the pages. Emily had died in that fire. And the child, their daughter, was gone too. Maggie feels her stomach tighten. The images flood her, the family she never knew existed, the love that had been torn away, just like her own. But it's more than that. The journal speaks of something else, something darker. A curse. Maggie's breath hitches as she reads further. The letters hint at a family doomed to suffer, trapped by something older, something that doesn't forgive. A pattern emerges, a warning passed down through generations. It will always come back. The words echo in her mind, and she can feel the blood draining from her face. She slams the journal shut, her hands trembling. Her heart races as she stands up, the room spinning. She's not sure what's worse, the pain of what Bo has lost, or the terrible realization that his suffering might not be over. She stumbles away from the box, her mind racing, her chest tight with panic. She can't hold it in anymore. She can't pretend. The anger, the fear, it builds inside her, pushing her forward. She needs answers. She needs to know. She finds Bo outside, chopping wood in the cold air, his figure a silhouette against the dying light of the day. His hands move with ease, his muscles working in rhythmic motions, but Maggie can't stop the rage that boils up in her chest. You knew, she spits, her voice shaking, louder than it should be. You knew, and you didn't say a damn thing. Bo stops, the axe hovering in midair. His eyes meet hers, but they remain unreadable. There's no surprise in them, no apology. Just the same quiet intensity. I didn't want to burden you with it, he says, his voice low, almost measured. I didn't want you to carry my pain. Maggie takes a step toward him, her breath coming faster, her pulse racing in her throat. Your pain, she snaps. You've been hiding it, pretending like it doesn't exist, pretending like none of this matters. She gestures to the cabin, to the mountains, to everything that feels so suffocating. What happened to your family? What happened to you? You just want to bury it, don't you? Because you're not the only one who's been broken. The words hit Bo like a blow. His expression hardens, but there's a flicker of something behind his eyes. Something Maggie can't name, something dangerous and raw. I didn't want you to see me like that, Bo says quietly. I didn't want to drag you into this. Maggie's chest heaves, her breath jagged. I'm already in it. Her voice cracks, the rawness of it catching her off guard. I'm already in it whether you want me here or not. You didn't give me a choice. Bo doesn't answer at first. His face remains stoic, but there's something else there now, a softness buried beneath the layers of grief and silence. He lowers the axe, his shoulders slumping slightly. There's a reason I live out here, he says after a long pause. A reason I don't let people get close. His voice cracks, just barely, and Maggie notices it. My family, they're gone. And it wasn't just a fire. It was something older. Something I can't control. Something that's been passed down, from them to me. And now, he trails off, his voice growing quiet. Maggie stands frozen, the weight of his words sinking in. She feels the ground shift beneath her, like everything she thought she knew is suddenly uncertain. She wants to scream, to ask him 1,000 questions, but she's too tired. Too tired to fight, too tired to carry all of this. You're the last of them, aren't you? She asks quietly, her voice trembling. The last of a family cursed by something you can't escape. Bo doesn't answer, but the silence is enough. He looks away from her, his eyes distant, lost in something only he understands. Maggie feels a shiver run down her spine. The truth, the real truth, is darker than she ever expected. And the walls she's tried to build between them crumble, piece by piece, as the weight of it presses in on her. She turns away from him, retreating back into the cabin, the cold air stinging her skin. Inside, she feels the walls closing in. She doesn't know what she's feeling, fear, anger, confusion. It all swirls together, and she's not sure which one is stronger. The crackle of the fire in the other room does little to ease the gnawing feeling in her gut. The silence between her and Bo is louder than ever. And for the first time, she realizes that she may never understand him, may never understand the darkness he carries with him. She sits down by the fire, her fingers trembling, and the shadows in the room stretch long and dark, as if they, too, are listening to the silence that fills the cabin. And somewhere, deep inside her, Maggie wonders if the curse that haunts Bo is the same one that's been haunting her all along. The storm hits like a tidal wave, sudden and unforgiving. The wind screams against the cabin, a wailing, relentless force that makes the walls shake. Rain hammers at the windows, the sound like 1,000 fists pounding at the fragile shelter. The fire inside flickers, casting long shadows across the room, but it does little to chase the chill that seeps into the corners of Maggie's bones. The tension is thick, heavy in the air, as if the storm outside mirrors the one that rages between her and Bo. She sits by the fire, her back stiff, her hands clenched in her lap. The warmth of the flames doesn't reach her. Bo, on the other hand, moves with purpose, his figure a silhouette in the low light. He's trying to fix the broken window, the frame battered by the wind, the glass threatening to shatter. The sound of his movements, the scrape of the wood, the muffled curse when something doesn't fit, fills the silence, but it doesn't break it. It only makes it worse. Maggie's eyes flicker to him occasionally, but she doesn't speak. She doesn't know what to say anymore. She doesn't know how to fill the space between them. Each word feels too heavy, too fragile, like it might shatter if she tries to speak. So she remains silent, her gaze fixed on the fire, her thoughts swirling in a haze of confusion and grief. Bo works steadily, his broad back to her, the muscles in his shoulders tensing with each movement. But he doesn't speak either. The storm outside grows louder, but the silence between them is louder still. Maggie feels it then, the sharp sting of vulnerability. It rises up in her chest, burning, and before she can stop it, the words spill out. "My husband, he left me," she says, her voice quiet, barely a whisper over the storm. "He left because I couldn't have children." The room seems to freeze. The crackle of the fire is the only sound, its warmth suddenly unbearable. Bo doesn't turn around. His back remains stiff, his hands still on the window frame. But Maggie can feel the weight of her words hanging in the air, pressing down on them both. She hadn't meant to say it. She hadn't meant to let him know the truth. But the storm outside, the broken window, the coldness in the room, it all seems to press her into the confession. She doesn't look at him. She can't. She keeps her gaze locked on the flames, watching them dance, but it doesn't ease the ache in her chest. The truth feels like a wound ripped open again, a fresh cut that stings every time she breathes. For a long moment, there's nothing. No response. No comfort. Just the howling wind and the crackling fire. But then, Bo's voice, low and rough, cuts through the silence. "It wasn't your fault," he says, his tone surprisingly gentle. He doesn't turn around, but there's a softness in his voice that she hasn't heard before. "None of it was your fault." The words land on her like a weight she didn't know she needed. She doesn't respond right away, doesn't even know how to. She wants to tell him it doesn't matter. She wants to say that his comfort doesn't change anything. But instead, she just sits there, her heart pounding in her chest, and lets the silence stretch between them once more. Bo's movements slow, and for a moment, she thinks he's stopped working, that he's given up on fixing the window. But then, he speaks again, his voice quieter now, as though the storm outside has forced him to say things he's been holding back. "My family," he begins, his words slow, measured. "They didn't die in that fire by accident. Someone said it. Someone wanted them gone. Wanted my bloodline wiped clean." Maggie turns her head slightly, her eyes wide with disbelief. The storm rages outside, but she can feel the shift in the air, the change in Bo's voice. He's not just the mountain man anymore. He's something else, someone who's seen more darkness than she can understand. His back remains turned to her, but she can hear the weight of his pain in every word. "They were trying to erase us," he continues, his voice hardening. "And they almost did. Almost." Maggie's chest tightens, her breath catching in her throat. She's never heard him speak like this, not about his family, not about the fire. She's seen the scars on his face, the haunted look in his eyes, but now she understands the depth of it. The rage. The loss. "I didn't know," she whispers, the words escaping before she can stop them. "I didn't know it was someone else." Bo doesn't answer right away. The storm outside seems to fill the silence between them, the wind howling against the walls. The cabin feels smaller now, the air thicker, as if everything inside is holding its breath. "It doesn't matter now," he says finally, his voice distant, like he's not talking to her anymore, but to something else. Something buried deep inside him. "What matters is that I'm the last one left. The last one to carry the name. The last one who's been marked by it." The room feels colder now. Maggie's stomach churns as she processes his words. The pain in his voice, the weight of his grief, it's more than she can bear. She thought she understood what it meant to lose someone. She thought she understood what it meant to be abandoned. But now, with Bo's confession, the enormity of it hits her, and she realizes how little she knows about true loss. But she can't let go of her own pain. She can't let him just walk away from it, from her. She can't just sit here in the silence anymore. "Why are you telling me this?" she asks, her voice trembling with frustration and something else, something deeper, darker. "Why now? Why do you get to hide behind your secrets and expect me to just understand? To accept it?" Bo's shoulders stiffen, his back still to her, but his voice is calmer now, more resigned. "I didn't want to burden you. Didn't want you to see me like this." Maggie's eyes burn with unshed tears. "Well, here I am," she says bitterly. "Stuck here with you. Stuck in this storm. And all I can think about is how you're just like him. Just like my husband. You hide your pain. You bury it. And you think it's gonna make everything better." Beau's grip on the window frame tightens, but he doesn't turn around. His voice is quiet, almost a whisper, as though he's speaking to himself now. "I'm not like him," he says, his voice strained. "I'm not leaving. But I can't make it right for you. I can't fix what's broken." Maggie feels the words hit her, a sharp, unexpected blow. She stands up suddenly, her legs unsteady beneath her, but she can't stop herself. She steps closer to him, her voice shaking with the weight of everything she's been carrying. "Will you leave me like he did?" The question hangs in the air, raw and vulnerable. "Will you just walk away? Like everyone else?" Beau doesn't answer right away. He doesn't turn to face her. The storm outside continues to rage, but inside, the silence is deafening. Finally, he speaks, but the words are low, almost drowned by the storm. "I'm not him," he repeats, but it's not enough. Maggie stands there, staring at the back of his head, feeling the walls between them rise higher. The fire crackles, the storm rages, and the silence between them deepens. And she wonders if anyone will ever stay long enough to heal the wounds they've both carried for so long. The storm has passed. The wind no longer howls outside the cabin, and the rain has faded into a soft mist that clings to the trees. The morning air is thick with the scent of wet earth, fresh and new. Maggie stands by the window, watching as the clouds slowly part, revealing the pale light of the sun pushing through. It feels different today. The weight of the past few days, the tension between her and Beau, is beginning to lift, as if the storm outside wasn't just a force of nature, but something more, a reflection of the storm they both weathered. She turns away from the window and sees Beau, standing near the fire, stoking the embers. He's quieter now, the same quiet man she's known, but there's something softer in his presence, a stillness that wasn't there before. They've spoken little since their confrontation the night before, but something has shifted between them. The anger is gone, replaced by a fragile truce, a recognition of shared pain. Beau doesn't look at her as she moves closer, but his awareness of her presence is palpable. There's no rush, no need to fill the silence with words. For the first time, it doesn't feel like a burden. It feels comfortable. He finally speaks, his voice low, but the words carry weight. "I need to ask you something." Maggie looks up, her gaze meeting his. She doesn't respond, but she doesn't need to. The question is already in the air between them. Beau hesitates, almost as if weighing his words. "Stay," he says simply. "Not just for shelter. For something more. Stay. I don't want to be alone here anymore." The request is simple, but it strikes Maggie with an unexpected force. She wasn't expecting this. She wasn't expecting him to ask for anything. She wasn't expecting him to want anything from her. But his eyes, quiet, serious, tell her more than his words ever could. The silence between them thickens again, but it's no longer heavy with the same tension as before. It's a silence that's grown comfortable. Maggie takes a breath, letting it out slowly, and then steps closer to him. There's no answer in her immediate thoughts, but in the stillness, she feels something shift inside her, as if the road ahead isn't as long and lonely as it once seemed. "I don't know what I'm doing here," she says, her voice raw but calm. "I don't know what's next." But, she trails off, searching for the right words, but she's not sure she needs them. Beau doesn't answer, but his gaze softens, as if he understands. They don't need to say everything. There's a shared understanding in the space between them. It's enough. Later that morning, after the fog lifts and the air begins to warm, they sit together outside, watching the sunrise as the sun finally breaks through the clouds, spilling light across the land. The mountains stretch out in front of them, jagged and powerful, as if they've always been there, holding them both in place. The silence between them is comfortable, a kind of quiet peace settling over the cabin. For the first time in days, Maggie lets herself feel it, the calm. The world isn't rushing by, and she doesn't need to chase it. She's here, in this moment, and that's enough. Bo breaks the silence. His voice is steady, his words deliberate. You don't have to go back, he says. You don't have to carry what he did to you. You don't have to keep living in that. Not here. Maggie's fingers tighten around the warm cup in her hands, the weight of his words settling deep in her chest. I don't know if I can forget, she admits. I don't know how to stop carrying it. You don't have to forget, he replies, his voice softer now. But you can choose how much it controls you. The words hang in the air between them, a truth that Maggie has been avoiding for so long. It's not about forgetting. It's about letting go. Letting go of the pain that has held her in its grip for so long. Letting go of the shame and the weight of abandonment. She doesn't know if she's ready, but for the first time, she feels the possibility of it. She looks out at the mountains again, their silhouette against the brightening sky, and something shifts inside her. The future, uncertain, unspoken, doesn't feel as heavy anymore. There's a road ahead, one she's still unsure of, but it's not as dark as she once thought. As the day grows brighter, Bo stands up and motions for her to follow. Maggie looks at him, confusion flickering in her eyes, but he doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. She stands, follows him silently as they walk towards the edge of the woods, the soft crunch of leaves beneath their feet the only sound. They walk together for a while, the trees surrounding them, the world quiet except for the occasional bird call. Finally, they reach a small clearing. There's a grave, weathered and old, the stone cracked, but still standing. It's not a family grave, not Bo's. But it's a memorial, a place for those who have been lost, for those who have been forgotten. The marker is simple, the name worn away by time, but the meaning is clear. It's a place for closure. Maggie stands there for a moment, staring at the grave, the weight of it settling over her like a blanket. She doesn't know whose grave this is, but it doesn't matter. It's a place of endings, of things left behind. Bo steps forward, reaching into his coat pocket and pulling out a single, simple flower. He bends down, placing it gently on the grave, and then steps back. Maggie watches him, her heart heavy with the unspoken words between them. She doesn't know why, but she reaches into her own pocket and pulls out a small wildflower she found on the way here. She kneels beside the grave, placing it gently beside the flower Bo has laid down. The gesture is simple, but it feels like a release. A way of saying goodbye, a way of letting go. She stands up slowly, looking at Bo, who's watching her with a quiet intensity. Their eyes meet, and for the first time, Maggie feels something she hasn't felt in a long time: peace. Not the kind that comes from forgetting, but the kind that comes from acceptance. Acceptance of the past, of what they both lost, and what they might still have to give. Bo takes her hand, his grip steady, warm, and for the first time, Maggie doesn't feel alone. She doesn't feel like she's carrying everything on her own. There's someone else beside her. There's someone who understands. As they stand together in the clearing, the sun high above them, Maggie realizes that the curse isn't about bloodlines or the ghosts of the past. It's about survival. It's about finding a way to keep moving, even when everything seems lost. And in this moment, in the quiet of the woods, she knows she has found a way forward. The seasons change slowly in the mountains, the way everything changes here, gradually, without fanfare, like the earth shifting beneath the weight of time. The cold starts to creep in, the mornings sharper, the nights longer, but Maggie doesn't mind. It's different now. She's different now. Her pregnancy is progressing, the baby inside her growing stronger, its presence undeniable. The ache in her belly has become familiar, not a burden but a reminder of something she never thought she'd have. The road here, the road that brought her to this cabin, to this man, is behind her, though she can still feel the echoes of it, haunting her in quiet moments. But the ache of loss, the ache of abandonment, has softened. It's no longer all she is. She is no longer just the woman left behind, the woman who couldn't keep her husband. Maggie watches the sunrise from the porch, her hands resting on her swollen belly, her body heavier now with both the child and a sense of purpose. She doesn't know what the future holds, but she knows it doesn't feel as empty as it once did. The mountains are still silent, still endless, but they don't seem quite as far away. She doesn't know if she'll ever be able to forget the pain, but she's learning to live with it, to move past it. Inside, Bo works. He's no longer the quiet observer he once was. He's part of this place now, part of the life they're building together. His hands are rough, his movements deliberate, but there's a rhythm between them now. They don't need to speak as much. There's something about working side by side, the simple tasks of chopping wood, mending fences, that binds them in a way that words never could. They don't have to explain themselves anymore. There's trust now, a quiet understanding that doesn't need to be said. When Bo finishes his work, he comes to her, wiping his hands on his pants, his face softened by the sunlight. He doesn't say anything, but he doesn't need to. He just takes her hand and leads her outside, to the place they've been working on together, a small garden at the edge of the cabin. The soil is rich, the earth forgiving, and they planted seeds together, hopeful that something will grow. Maggie crouches down, her hand resting on the soil, feeling the earth beneath her fingertips. She's not the broken woman she was. She's someone who's learned to build. To grow. And in the soil, in the simple act of planting, she sees the future stretching out before her, uncertain but alive. Look at it, Bo says, his voice softer than usual, as he watches her. It's gonna be a good season. Maggie smiles, her fingers brushing over the tiny sprouts pushing through the earth. She's not sure what a good season looks like, but she knows this one is different. This season is one where she's not running from the past anymore. This season is one where she's moving forward. As the days pass, the weather shifts again, and the autumn winds begin to stir the trees. Maggie feels the change in the air, the crispness of the season settling into her bones. But it doesn't feel like a coldness she needs to fear anymore. It feels like a new beginning, a new chapter that she stepped into with both eyes wide open. One evening, as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows over the cabin, Bo and Maggie sit outside, the fire crackling between them. The night is clear, the stars beginning to flicker overhead like 1,000 tiny beacons in the sky. The air is still, the world quiet except for the occasional rustle of leaves. Bo is sitting close to her, his shoulder brushing hers, his hand resting on the ground beside her. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The firelight dances in their eyes, casting a warmth between them that is different than before. There's no tension now, no unspoken words hanging between them. There's just the quiet, the peace. Maggie turns to him, her heart full. She doesn't need to say anything, because she knows he feels it too. The unspoken bond between them has grown stronger, as steady as the land beneath their feet. She leans toward him, just slightly, and Bo turns to face her. Their kiss is soft at first, tentative, as if testing the ground beneath them. But then it deepens, more certain, more sure, and for the first time in a long time, Maggie feels like she's not just surviving. She's living. She's not alone anymore. The fire flickers between them, and for a moment, everything else disappears. There's just this, the warmth of the kiss, the quiet of the night, the sound of the fire crackling. The world feels both small and vast at the same time. There's still so much ahead of them, so much unknown, but in this moment, it doesn't matter. The kiss lingers for a moment longer before they pull apart, both of them catching their breath. Bo smiles softly, his face relaxed in a way Maggie hasn't seen before. It's a smile that isn't guarded, isn't hiding anything. It's a smile that feels like a promise. I never thought I'd be here, Maggie says, her voice low. I never thought I'd find this. Bo doesn't say anything at first. He just looks at her, his eyes full of something she can't quite name. I didn't think I'd find it either, he replies, his voice rough but steady. But here we are. And for the first time, Maggie doesn't feel afraid of what comes next. She doesn't feel burdened by the weight of what's behind her. She feels lighter, freer, like something inside her has shifted. She knows the road ahead won't be easy. The future is still uncertain. But for the first time in a long time, she feels like she's not alone on it. Later, they walk back into the cabin, the warmth of the fire still lingering in the air. Bo takes her hand again, his grip steady, and Maggie feels something inside her settle. The uncertainty of the future doesn't seem so daunting anymore. They're building something here, something that's theirs. A life. A future. As the night deepens, Maggie lies down, her hand resting on her swollen belly. The sound of Bo moving around the cabin fades into the background, and she feels the weight of the day slip away. The stars outside are bright, but inside, there's warmth, and peace, and the promise of something more. She closes her eyes, a quiet sense of hope blooming in her chest. The mountains are still there, looming in the distance, but for the first time, they don't feel as imposing. They feel like a part of her now, like something she's learned to live with. And as she drifts to sleep, she knows that whatever comes next, she's ready. The road ahead may be long, but it's hers to walk, and she's no longer afraid of it.